And why am I having this conversation with you? So I've spent the last 15 years working in the area of authentic leadership and purpose. And what's interesting is that for a lot of that, dealing with how do you lead in challenging times has been a core part of what we've done. But in some ways, I would say we now stand in a very different time. In some ways, for this generation, for us right now, the world is going through an enormously turbulent time that has probably not been as turbulent since World War II. Now, if we go back and we think about that experience that most of us didn't actually live through, but the consequences of it, there was a world before and there was a world after, and it was very different. The same is true now. There's a world that we will never have again in the same way, and there's a world that we're not yet in, or do we know what it will look like? What's also true is that many of the most powerful transformations as to how our societies work, how we work as leaders, how we think about ourselves, occurred during that epochs of World War II and right afterwards. The same is going to happen again. Now, the people that ended up creating that were not the ones that were stuck in the story. They were the ones that became the story writers. They wrote the story. And in some sense, from my perspective, what they did is they stepped into their purpose and led from it. Now, today, my true gift for you is not a presentation, but an experience. Because I don't know about you, but I don't think I need people telling me what I should do. I need to be able to stepping into the courage inside of me now and taking those actions that are the hard right versus the easy wrongs that will allow the world to be the place that I would like it to be, as opposed to the place it has been. And we each get to participate in making that happen. The people that did that at the end of World War II, none of them were known, and none of them were any more important than any of us. But they chose something, saw something, and because of that, they created things that now today we live with as a consequence that are very positive in many ways. So the opportunity is for all of us to step into that. So look, at this point, we've worked with about 20,000 individuals. There are a number of you on this call who we've worked with. I love my crazy Dutch bankers, Chantal and Alex and many of the rest of you. We have been on an amazing journey together. I've been on amazing journeys, and there's some of the crew that aren't on this call from Australia that we've worked with who sell power tools for a living, but are just the most amazing, beautiful people.
Nick, can you advance your slide?
Yes. Our colleagues at West Point and my dear friends at Ben & Jerry's. And as you can listen to these different companies, you'll notice there's enormous difference in variety in the businesses that they're in. What we know is that this work touches everybody everywhere. And right now, it's even more important than ever. So what I've decided to do today is not to present to you why purpose and why it's important and all the other things I normally do, but to jump off the cliff into the gift. Because here's what I know. Here's what I know. We have all been challenged. You have been challenged. I have been challenged. We have all been challenged in our life. In some of those challenges, the cavalry came and saved the day. Things just changed. Somebody took care of us. Okay? We can put those aside. But there were others where we realized at some point the cavalry was never coming. And the only thing that was going to save us was us, ourselves. And so in some ways, the opportunity for us today is for us to go to those stories. Because in that moment, when we do that, we step into our purpose. Now, we're not going to figure out what your purpose statement is and all those other things today. But what we are going to do is step into that beautiful place that purpose resides. Because if you step into that place, then you have access to the gift that purpose is for each of us. And each of us does it a different way. Okay, the beautiful thing about your purpose is it's the ultimate antidote to uncertainty. Now that's a bold statement, but why do I mean by that? Look, I think for all of us, there's many things that we thought were very certain in our life that today do not feel very certain. They feel very fragile. And we don't know if they will be certain and what it will look like on the other side. Going to the airport, getting on an airplane feels very uncertain today in a way that it never has in my life. But I will tell you the one thing that will not change, it has not changed, it will always be there and will never change at all. And there's deep clarity and certainty is your purpose. Now, some of you say, well, that's great, but I don't know what my purpose is. Oh, but your purpose does know you. And when it shows up, one of the places it shows up, we have a number of places that we play with, but the one of the places it does show up is when all hell breaks loose, the cavalry isn't going to save you, and you save yourself, and you take yourself out of that place. Purpose is always there. So that is why we're going to go there today. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you, share with you a story, my story of one of my examples as a warm-up exercise to help you start thinking about what might be some of your stories. Hopefully this will help you think about yours. We're going to take you on a journey. We're going to pair you up and you're going to go into a special space in the virtual reality that we have created for you. And you're going to share, you're going to have time to think about and then share your stories. And then we're going to do some work to take some of the insights and see how that applies to what's happening for you right now, today in this real world. And then we'll talk about it and go from there. Okay, so this is the gift of my hour with you, is that you don't get to listen to me for that much. You get to listen to your self-talk because that's where the gift is. Now, a brief story. I have about 10 really challenging experiences in my life. I've lost jobs. I've lost most of my health and almost died. I've lost businesses, almost gone bankrupt. I've almost had my 2 teenage girls divorce me. I've had people close to me die. I've had a lot of things happen to me. The story I want to tell you was when I was 15 years old, before I knew any of these things. At the age of 15, my family moved to Charleston, South Carolina, which at the time in the mid-70s was a pretty backwater place. And we moved to, in the middle of the school year, I was 15 and I was a nerdy, shy kid, and moving to a new school in the middle of the school year is probably the most traumatic thing that you can do at 15. Any of you who have 15-year-olds, you know how much noise they make when they don't like what's happening. And on top of that, we moved into a basement apartment overlooking a swamp, which made noises at night that kept me up because it was totally not good noises going on in that swamp. Alligators, lions, and tigers. I went to a school that was awful, was probably the worst school system in the United States. And I was lost. I was so lost. My parents were yelling and screaming. There was not a warm evening conversation. If there was anything, it was all bad. And there was no changing of the weather that looked possible. There was no cavalry. There was just the same every day. I took my bike and I went down to this bookstore because reading for me was my refuge. And I decided I needed something to take me out of this hellhole. And I started looking at these books on a shelf, and the first book I pulled out was a book on Lincoln. And I'd read a little bit about him. I knew he saved the Civil War, so I thought, well, here's inspiration. Well, it turns out the page I picked to was when his mother dies when he's 9 years old, and he's devastated, and he has to basically bring himself up by himself. And I'm like, well, this isn't a great story. I'm closing this book. So then I go to this book about Gandhi. I says, well, you know, I kind of heard about this guy. What is this? You know, this is an inspirational, spiritual guy, saved India. Well, the part I picked to was when he's just gotten lynched in South Africa and received racism at an extreme amount and degree. I was like, shit, this is awful. I don't want to read this. So I said, well, Winston Churchill, he saved, you know, Britain. I picked the wrong chapter to look at. It was the 1930s where nobody wanted to talk to him, and he was the evil Dark Lord, telling everybody about Hitler and nobody listening. I was like, shit, I don't want to do that. So in this moment, I decided to grab a book that looked really cool called about levitating monks in Nepal. Right? I've opened this chapter, and the stupid chapter is about their daily discipline and how horrible it was. And I'm like, but here's what happened. In that moment, what dawned on me, what showed up, for me, I guess what I would say would be my purpose, but I had this insight. I said, all of these people have been deeply challenged in ways that I never had been. But they all fulfilled their deepest destiny. Their fullest potential got experienced. Whether it was levitating or saving Britain, or saving the United States, or India, they'd fulfilled their potential. And I sat there and I realized that in that moment that each of us have the possibility of having that be our destiny. What would it be like if we were to fully access our potential? Now, I remember this as it was yesterday, but I also know that I will tell you that my circumstances in the world that I lived in did not change at all. What did change is my relationship to it and my hunger for the journey of what was possible. And that curiosity that showed up inside of me is probably the reason why I do what I do today. And if I look through history, its impact on me was enormous over time. Now, my belief is every one of you have a story that has some of these characteristics to it. It's not my story, it's your story. There's the challenge, and then there's the moment where you begin to see something different in the possibility. We are now going to go on this journey. You are going to have an opportunity to describing a very challenging experience. And what you did had a very powerful impact on how things unfolded. Now, obviously, not all your experiences have that characteristic, but I will promise you there's one or two. And it may have been when you were 10, 5, it could have been yesterday. And it may not be a work-related story, it could be a work-related story, I don't care. Here's how we're gonna do the exercise. So once I explain it, what we're gonna do is you're gonna give you about 5 minutes in this space to sit and write and think and reflect on what's the story that comes out and wants to be shared today. And it may not be the one, you might be surprised what shows up. It's the challenge as well as sort of where did things shift? And what did you do that caused the shift to happen? Once you've jotted down some notes, Megan is gonna then put us into pairs and allow us to share those stories. And in those pairs, once you've shared your stories, you'll then have 10 minutes to initially answer the two questions. What do you know now and what's the new actions you will take? And then you'll share that with each other. And once that's done, we bring it back together. So, Megan, we ready to start the exercise, yes? So,
yep, we'll start 5 minutes now.
Everyone, 5 minutes. Start writing and thinking.
In a minute or so?
Yes, we have 4 minutes left.
You an example. But there's no like.
What new actions will you take?
Honor. So I got that last Friday.
Okay, well, thank you for support of an institution that is being challenged these days in multiple ways, yes?
Yeah, you bet.
And so that's, after being an Eagle Scout, you get the Silver Buffalo. That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
A couple other things, but yes.
Exactly. It all comes with an interesting set of trade-offs.
That's right.
I want to welcome all of you back. So what I'd love to do is give some of you a chance to share with us how your insights and your answer to what do you know now, what new actions will you take? So as we talked about before, if you go down to the participant space, there's an opportunity to raise your hand. And if you do so, then Megan will be able to know that you would love to share with us your insights. This is an opportunity for all of you who are extroverts to live your purpose. Okay, Erica.
Anyone?
Hopefully you don't listen to my kids, but so okay, so some of the things that we shared, we started very similar. No, I was sharing my purpose with just one person in the room, and it was similar for both of us because we started like, oh, I really don't have like this like breakthrough story or this big moment in my life, and I said, oh, the same happens to me. I mean, no, we have many moments that have certain like I don't know, that have been a challenge for us, but there's no like big highlight or something like that. So in that moment we really bond. and then we started like relaxing and speaking about these moments that maybe for other people would be like, oh, okay, you know, but for us it had a meaning, no, in our lives. So just to give you an example, I was sharing one moment of my life where I really very badly wanted to become a professional Irish dancer. Mexican wanting to become a professional Irish dancer, and I was also studying in a school that was really hard, and you need to study and to really invest your time on it. So it was really difficult to do both of the things. So at a certain moment of time, I had to make up my mind and say, you know what, I cannot continue with this amazing dream passion that I have of becoming an professional Irish dancer. I need to focus on my school and no. But then I said, you know what, I still want to do something where I'm good at, and it's not like academic or professional. So I started running. No, I started running because I could run at 10 p.m. or I could run very early in the morning, and it was that passion inside me of wanting to achieve something that a year after I ran a marathon. Only in my life I only have run one marathon at the end, but for me it was like it was a challenging moment that at the end I think turned up to be a success, no? And I shared a little bit of stories like that start making sense, no? And like a thread.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and now I kind of I feel it's part of my purpose, no? It's part of who I am, because in many times of my life, these same things have happened, like doors that I think like, oh, this I don't know, this way is closed, but I find a window, right? So it's
You find a window. That's an interesting way to think about it. So for all of us, here's the thing. One of my insights in the last year or two is, because I've spent many years helping people figure out their purpose statement. And Chantel, you and I have spent a lot of time working on yours over the years, remember? But here's the thing, is that in some ways, the purpose statement is actually like the title to a movie. And if you think of your favorite movie, whether it's Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, Back to the Future, whatever it may be, the truth is it's the movie that counts. It's the story, it's the moment that counts. And in some ways, what we've been doing today is helping you step into the story. Because when we step into the story, we embody it. And as we tell it, we step into that part of ourselves that is that part that's from that place. And in some ways, that is the greatest gift that we need to experience. Because it's from here that we can take action. Okay, we are all of life is a story. Okay, and what we focus on is what we create. So if I ask you right now to focus on the sensations in the bottom of your feet, it's a strange request, but if you go there, you'll notice there's tingling sensations and things in the bottom of your feet that were not there 2 seconds ago. The power of that is just to realize that what we do focus on is what we create. So these stories give us a place to give a focus away from all the news and all the information that's being given to us that for the most part is probably not connected to our purpose. So who else would like to share?
Stu is raising his hand.
Stu?
In my life that I realized my purpose, but 25 years ago, there was someone in my organization who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself and offered me the opportunity to change my career at the age of 40. And I went home on a Friday. I was selling Yellow Pages advertising and came in to work on Monday, and I was an organizational development consultant. I went back to school, and what it created for me was 25 years of doing amazing work that really fed my purpose. And
Stu, you're muted.
is that I need to look for the opportunities and be aware when the opportunities do present themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
So to be aware of those and seek those out.
Yeah, so one of the opportunities in this is for most of us, we miss our purpose. We say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. No, your purpose knows you. But we sometimes, many times, can't see it. So a lot of the work that we do is about helping you to see where it showed up. And as you see the pattern, you start to go, oh my God, it's everywhere. Here it is. This is it. This is it. So in some ways, this is a small window. I mean, in some ways, this is a 1 hour version of a couple of weeks from now. We're doing the virtual 4-day, half-day program, which we spend 4 hours each day in this container, and you start to see the pattern of how all the pieces fit together. So it's building those up. But at the same time, having the story is more important than anything else, right? So thank you, Stuart. Who else would like to share?
We have one more, Jan.
Jan.
Jan, hi, I'm Jan from Germany. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. And I've been through some difficult times job-wise, and I had to really change the way I work and the kind of work that I do, and what this taught me really, and what our conversation with my partner early on also kind of pointed me towards is that I really need to take more of the lead of my life, so lead my own life, take the lead. And I think it also requires some more even bolder steps in the direction that I kind of feel, but I've been shying away from. So really take more bold steps and take your own life in your hands.
Yeah, it was beautifully said. I think that's how I know when purpose shows up, it doesn't have us do the easy stuff. There's the ego-based. Somebody was saying to me, to challenge the purpose is I have to go save the world. I says, no, that's not purpose, that's ego. Sometimes what purpose says is be quiet and take care of yourself and go heal yourself. Don't worry about everybody else. And I go, well, that sounds more like purpose. Okay, so the point here is that, you know, it's not going to tell us the normal thing. It's going to push us to go to the place that we struggle to go. But in going there, we find ourselves more in heaven as opposed to the comfort of hell. Yeah. So yes. So welcome to the journey of purpose. Happiness. If you want happiness, a good beer and some ice cream will do just fine. So yeah. Thank you, Don. Thank you very much. Who else?
So we do have one more hand raised, but I want to be cautious of time. So we'll take one quick last one and then wrap
Okay,
up.
exactly.
Doreen wants to share.
Hi, thanks, Nick. My name is Shirin. I'm from India, from the western part of India, close to Mumbai, in Pune. Certainly, I've read your book. You know, it's there with me, and I do keep reading a lot around. You know, a lot of you know, your website and your YouTube videos. I think in these times, one of those most important elements which I've come across is the sense of gratitude of having a roof over your head. You know, you have bread at your table, and at the same time, it gives a lot of you know, amount of, you know, what do you do for people who probably are, you know, really stranded in these moments, are away. A lot of people in you know, across the world also have daily wages to what they do. So, and with that being, you know, the trigger, okay, how can you go ahead and extend or, you know, contribute to the society, maybe not the larger society, anything which is in your influence, is what we've been trying to do continuously in the past, starting from, you know, taking care of the animals on the streets to, there could be anything and everything, you know. It's not about just people. So yeah, so that's about it, Nick. I can go on, but I'll just be quiet, looking at the time we have. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being in that part of the world, calling in. So here's the thing. My gift to you is your story, and reminding you that the story that you tell is more compelling than the story that you hear from someone else, because your story is the one that helps you access that beautiful place that purpose resides. You find it, and one of the best places to find your purpose is when you look at how you dug yourself out of the hole. Not when somebody helped you, but when you helped yourself. There is gold there. Writing that story down and really writing it, spending 2 or 3 days writing it, will give you a gift that will help you in this time like no piece of advice can do. Now, I welcome all of you to join us in a couple of weeks or whenever it makes sense for you to go on the deeper journey of sitting in this space with us. But what we wanted to do is to give you something that was whole and complete. You have the exercise. You have permission to use this exercise with anybody in your life that you would find useful to share these stories with each other. The more you share these stories, the more you sit in that beautiful place that these stories are connected to, and you experience the benefit of purpose, which is the most important thing. So I'm going to stay here and chat with any of you who want to spend a couple more minutes, but I want to give you permission to leave. It's 2 minutes after the hour, wherever you happen to be, and I want to make sure that you take care of all those other things that you are supposed to be doing right this minute. But I want to thank you deeply for myself and colleagues, and thank Megan for helping set this whole thing up and keeping us all in tow, and look forward to the journey with all of you. So you may go on your journey as you wish, and you can stay for a couple of minutes as we close. So off you go. So we'll see who stays around. We'll have a little chat.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome, Angela. You're welcome, Angela. So yes. So any questions or comments from the journey we just gone on? This is our a gift to all of you of giving you something that's full and complete in a world that everybody gives you little pieces, but not enough to do something with. So,
Hey, Nick.
yeah.
It's Stu Cohen here. First of all, I just want to thank you. But what I found really interesting, and it kind of came out of one of the last statements you made. You talked about how to dig yourself out of your hole. I think what's really interesting about the process you just took us through is I didn't realize, and it didn't happen today, but looking back at when my life changed, I didn't realize I was in a hole until I was out of it. And I had someone else who saw something in me that created the opportunity that pushed me in this new direction. So sometimes it's difficult to know you're even in a hole.
Yeah, it's the frog boiling water scenario. You put the frog in the tepid water and heat it up, and it sits there and doesn't move. And sort of narrative of how our life ends up being sometimes is when purpose shows up and knocks on our door and wakes us up, we go, really? That's what we were okay with?
Yeah, yeah.
I think one of the challenges and the gifts of purpose is that it will always show us the gap. So one of the things that one of the final chapters of the book is the chapter on mastery, which is that you're in it, you fall out of it, it just gets really awfully weird, and then you realize it, and you start to dig to get to that deeper truth that is that next layer of what does it look like to live purpose at that next level. And it's not like you arrive and then you're done, right? It's a continual cycle of deepening our connection. Purpose, we never fulfill our purpose fully, but the beauty of that is there's always another door to go through that will have us realize that the one we were in was not as compelling as the door we're going through. So the curious kid inside of us will always have an opportunity of opening the door and going, wonder what's on the other side, right? When you stop wondering, you stop living.
Yeah.
You know, and Stu, you've retired 3 times. You're not going to retire. You're too curious to keep opening doors, and you can't help yourself, right? I mean, this is the dilemma.
Yeah. Yeah.
For many of us. I have so many people that say to me, you know, here's what I've done in my life. And so, but, you know, I'm tired. I don't like, that's like, I've done that. I'm bored now. So they're like, oh no, I have to do this. I have to like do the next thing. And I'm like, exactly. You know, this is how you're designed. Yeah. There are some people whose job it is to make everything work that everyone else has stopped caring about. And that's one group of people. And then there's the people that like, once I get it figured out, I'm bored to death and I got to move on.
Yeah, I'm in that group.
It's a gift and a curse, because the problem is that you end up being the master of reinvention, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is though, Nick? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So what's the next road that you go down? What's the next part of the journey?
That's all there is. That's all there ever has been for any of us.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
you know, in the meantime, the reason they call it a vacation is because everything's predictable and it goes as planned. And that vacation is where nothing goes as planned.
Right. Right.
We call it a vacation. And you do the vacation, at some point you go, well, you know, this is pretty boring. Every day the sun comes up, every day there's a little thing for breakfast. Every day I get my little cocktail, and then you're like, at some point you're like, God, this is really boring. I think I have to go back to the real world where all hell breaks loose, right? So so it's not like you don't need those times as well.
No, it's true. You need the downtimes, but I find also the scarier the journey gets, the more exciting it is. So it's kind of an interesting kind of dichotomy.
I have a number of senior executives right now who are saying to me how guilty they feel that they're so happy right now, and that they're really scared that the coronavirus isn't going to last long enough. Because they can get shit done now that they couldn't get done for years and years, because nobody can stop them now. And they get done in days what usually took months, and in months what usually took years.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that when everybody wakes up and goes back to quote unquote normal, that they're going to be like, okay, I hate this.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It'll be interesting.
How is The Hague?
Hi, Nick and everybody. Yes, The Hague is good. It's a sunny Friday. It's Friday.
Last week, or earlier this week, she sent me a picture of her having a glass of wine with a view of this beautiful church in The Hague, and she sent me the picture through the wine glass, and I was like, this is not fair.
Somebody's got too much time on their hands at the end of the day.
Well, let's just say you're enjoying it, a beautiful place, and I was very homesick for my time in Amsterdam and The Hague.
I know, I miss the world too.
So, but we have you here. So anything you want to share?
No, I think it was really interesting more in terms of, because I went through the 2-day Purpose to Impact program with Nick in December in London. And, you know, we took a lot of time to build that trust. And so I was really curious how that was going to work out. But actually, it's not that we didn't need it. I think because you get to choose the story you tell, and then you know that there's a listening partner on the other side, was really helpful. And I told the same story, and I learned new things from telling the same story. And that was, you know, something that had to do more with the identity part of it. So without necessarily going into the story itself, but the insight Stacy and I both had was that your identity is actually expandable. So when you go through something that you think compromises your identity, it could actually be almost stretching it or even uncovering more of it that you didn't realize was part of you. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think the purpose journey sort of keeps taking you to the messy middle where you have to try and keep figuring it out. It's not so to the point of the previous comment about that it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's a journey every day. So it doesn't stop at the statement.
No, it does not stop this thing. It is a living, breathing thing as opposed to a static thing. LK is not your real name, I think.
My first name's Lisa Kay, but everyone shortens it to LK. I can thank my parents for that.
So they call you LK?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I had a boss who was a long time ago. People just used to shorten it to Lisa, but I ended up with a boss who I was with 24/7, and people kept coming in the room, and nobody knew who was calling us. It was difficult to know which one of us was being called, so it got shortened to LK 20 years ago.
Okay, well, anything you'd like to share or any question you have since you're
I just sent you a click. I'm not sure I can wait until the end when everybody's gone if it's not interesting to people, because it's slightly off what we've been talking about. But I was interested to hear about courses that you run. I'm really interested in taking a formal coaching qualification. I've done it as an excited novice for about the last 15 years, probably longer. And I was really looking to gain a qualification. I was talking about it at the beginning of last year, but as Els knows, I've had a very interesting year. And thank you, Els. You were an amazing partner. So yeah, now I'm really looking into, again, how to gain that coaching qualification, because I need to earn. It's just me. So I need to pay my own bills, and but I'd like to really take a course at the same time. So just really interested to hear about the courses that you run, and how they can be managed alongside a full-time working job.
Yeah, so the good news is the way that what's been interesting for us is we've twisted this from a in real time versus virtual. So originally we were doing this course this week in London, in Wallace Space, in Clerkenwell, right? And so it was a 2-day experience, and Karina experienced it with us. And I think Elsie were there with us, and it's, 2 full days. There you go. It's two, it's actually 2.5 full days, and it's like, it's just all chunked in. But the benefit of us being in the virtual space now is that what we found that people say is that we do it, it's like 4 or 5 hours a day for 4 days. People feel like they can do their day job. They don't feel as guilty. They don't feel like they have to go back to their room after having a great time and having too much wine and do all their emails and be able to remember what they did and what they said, which I thought was really funny. And the other thing that people have been saying about the virtual program is that it allows them to, in between the sessions, share their stories with their people that they live with. and then they get those stories going. And so there's like this multiple thing happening all at the same time, which I just never thought about. So we've actually got people who are saying they think the virtual works better for this content than the live does, which I was sort of kind of, it took me about to the third program before I was courageous enough to ask, what were they talking about? Because I just thought they were crazy. But I think what people are saying is that right now, it's nice not to have to put on their work armor, and that their personal life now has to be as much part of the plan as their work life because they're in it. Because we always push that at the last day of, look, don't just do a plan that's a worky plan, because purpose doesn't just show up at work. It shows up everywhere, has a different expression as a mom or a dad or as a daughter or son. But those are just as important places to bring our purpose as is the work stuff. And so how to blend it all together into a coherent whole, right? As you know, your friend Else has been creating mischief with us on how do we create opportunities to do work together. So, so that's, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but yeah.
So from that, and I'm sorry because we are slightly going off, and I know there's other people who've probably got questions as well. So you are still offering courses. A friend of mine that I'm on today, because my friend highlighted it on LinkedIn and suggested it, and he was right. It was very good hour spent today, so thank you again. But the courses you're offering to get people qualified, you're now doing them online. Is that what I understand?
Let's just wait. Well, the programs we do right now are for participants. We don't qualify people to teach the material. So that's not the business that we're in per se. But what we do within companies and organizations is help train up the internal resources to help do some of the adventure. We do have some externals that we train up as well. And it really depends on the opportunities that we can see and where they happen to be. So we have a whole crew in Amsterdam in the UK because we've done lots and lots and lots of work there for reasons that I never can figure out, but it is what it is. So yes, but I'm so glad that you joined us. Stanley, are you still in Beijing today? I can hear you. Yeah. Well, you're late at night in Beijing, the internet becomes much better. Okay. The only people using the internet are you and the gamers. Well, Megan will send you some information. We can have you guys find out. Stanley was on their other call earlier this week, so he came back around too. So Stanley, did you enjoy doing this the second time? Good, excellent, excellent. So we actually have the course description in Mandarin. Yes. So Megan, can we send him the Mandarin version, please?
Yes, we can.
Exactly. So yes, because one of our colleagues speaks Mandarin. He spent 25 years in Shanghai. And if we have enough people from China who do the program, if we have enough people signed up from China to do the program, we'll have an all Chinese group and he will do it in Mandarin. Yeah, he works for us. He works for us. So yeah. So yeah. So anyway, so yeah, we can do the program multiple languages. We can even do it in English. Okay. Okay, Megan. Yeah, Megan will send that to you. But yes, okay, what we speak proper English. One of our guys was Deputy Commander UK Special Forces, and he speaks a proper English. Well, we will have, for the subgroups, there will be somebody who can speak Mandarin when you do the work in the subgroups. For the large group presentations, they'll still be in English, although we could probably do some translation. So I'll have you work with Megan and she can have you guys talk with Luke. So yeah. Okay. You're welcome. So any other comments or questions, guys? Ms. Karina, I'm just glad to see you.
It's good to be here.
I just missed hanging out with you.
Yeah, I know. We were supposed to meet up before all this went down.
We were literally going to be all together running the program in Colorado when
Yeah.
the world came shutting down. Goodbye, LK. It was wonderful being with you.
Nick, I just wanted to thank you. There are many webinars that I'm sure people have been on in the past few months, and the way that you were able to devise the breakout rooms that actually ran smoothly and effectively really means a lot, because I've seen some that have been a few disasters, and this was just seamless. So thank you. I really appreciated this. Cheers.
You're welcome. Thank you to Megan for helping us make that possibility. She was flying the plane and I was just serving the food.
No, it was well done, well executed. The information leading up was great, and just keep it up, because that's what keeps us coming back to these events. So thank you.
You're so welcome. May you have a beautiful day and weekend.
You as well. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Ms. Karina, if you stay for a second, we'll chat. Mr. Stanley, we're going to let you go on your journey.